Hello and welcome back to the Ospreys Eyrie podcast, special edition,
Yeah,
but
I
not
think it's
St
special.
Helens one, not one where we talk about how many
We,
Australians play for Munster.
yeah, we're not going to do 10 minutes on the 2015 All Blacks up top.
We could,
We
I mean,
could. We are
pre-recording, we did look at 2012 Wales squad.
we are very much deciding not to. I think we've got a
Yeah,
bigger priority right here.
yeah. So what you're about to listen to and what we've just recorded is myself, Robbie, and Yeston interviewing Toby Booth, the Ospreys head coach, the the man who's transformed our club from where we were, and you'll hear it in the interview, specifically. And we said the exact line last night, sort of in a pre-recording, where you come into a place where you've only got 2 wins to go to where we are now. So yeah, really great interview. We were really grateful to sort of have that time with him. He's on top form, so sit back, enjoy your half an hour of, quite frankly, the best Boothie bingo you will ever hear. Just going on from that, we're a couple of weeks into pre-season now. Is it 2-3 weeks? Is it
Yeah, this is start of week 4.
week 4? So, boys, feeling good. Look, obviously we are depleted because of internationals aren't back and various injuries. But sort of how is everyone feeling going into week 4?
Tired, I hope. No, it's always a balance, right? Pre-season, because it's a very planned thing that has to have a lot of flexibility in it because of what you see happen. So you have to be adaptable, and it's probably been exaggerated more this year than ever. We've gone from one extreme to the other. So last year we had sort of 16-week pre-season. This time we've got 8. So new players have to get up to speed fast. Youngsters who invariably need a little bit more time have to, there's quite a lot asked of them, especially if they are filling in senior roles, senior positions, because the quality of your training is, based on knowledge, effort, execution, etc., etc. So there's quite a lot going on, but it's good. That's what we do it for. We enjoy it.
So how long was your actual break off? How long were you away
4
for?
weeks.
4 weeks. Okay. What do you get up to in that time as the coach? Did you get to switch off much, or was it?
Well, normally you try and get away. I've not been away, which is dangerous for everybody, because if the head coach has time, he spends time looking. The reason being, my children were in A levels and GCSEs, and the timings didn't marry up. I mean, after playing for 52 weeks, sod's law that it doesn't line up for you personally. But so we've so from my point of view, you obviously let the analysts and the statistics, and then you look at the actual, and because obviously you want to apply the context, and then you look at the things that you need to focus on, either to become super strengths or maintain super strengths, and also where is there any low-hanging fruit that can improve your team very quickly, and then what's the long-term project, So from that point of view, it's a bit of a balance, to be fair.
Yeah, what was the differences between this season and last season? The way, obviously, time is a bit different with the longer pre-season, but how different is it compared to last season in a way?
No, a lot different, because you can really unpick some stuff, right? You can really unpick some stuff and look at more detail. You can take more time with the youngsters. You can be really clear. I mean, it was a blessing, really, because there was a lot of change, and obviously the backdrop of the year before, not for us, but in Welsh rugby, was particularly difficult. So as a result, you need to sort of, right, where's the line in the sand? And I know you guys are sick to death of hearing me say find a way, but that's
not at all. Quite the opposite.
I don't think, not yet.
Well, see, that's not bad. Was that 3 minutes where I've said it? It's not too bad. But it's basically how you cement the behaviours and standards and attitudes of what that actually looks like, So it's all very well say find a way. They've got to believe that you can find a way. They've got to have the skill set and the attitude to want to find a way. So these things take time to nurture and understand, especially with a younger group. So Yeah, we haven't quite got that luxury, but we got a long way down the road last year in relation to some of this stuff. So there's a bit of a refresh in it. You know, I've got a meeting today, and deliberately we let young players just get out there and new players get out there and get on with it. Best way to learn is be out there, and I'll backfill some of the theory and whatever. You know, I'm meeting actually today, which is why we're on a bit of a time window, because it's important that we get our new blood up to speed as quickly as we can, you know.
So how do you look back on last season then as a season where I think compared to where a lot of people on the outside put the Ospreys at the start of the season, massively overperformed? How do you look back on that? Do you look at it as an overperformance? How does it feel, you know, now we are, 6-7 weeks on?
Well, success isn't always measured in trophies, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I understand why people always, because ultimately it's really what the ultimate is, but there's this graduated process of getting there. So, you know, 4 seasons in, you know, our attack has improved, our defense was declining, but, you know, that's now got back to a better stand and we're much better defensively. Our set piece probably wasn't quite as potent as it had been, but there's context around injuries around that. So, you know, it's all about balance, and that's why you can't look at statistics or data cold. You have to, as I said, we work in a performance business that require humans to do things. So as a result, we have to take a human approach rather than a binary approach, you know. So it's important that we unpick that, look at it, decide, engage with people. What do we think? We obviously do our usual reviews. The players do their reviews. You know, they give us their feedback, and then my job, as you said, going back to the original question, is to try and plot a way to be able to do that. Trying to keep all the stakeholders happy.
And sort of player wise, we have lost, you know, some in terms of the general Welsh public, big names in George North, Alex Cuthbert, and we've brought in some, you know, to us some very talented players, but maybe to the general public they won't be big names apart from Kieran Hardy. You know, what is your mantra behind your signings? Because I've sort of taken a look at them and I'm really fascinated on how you recruit players, because it is that money. It's almost like that Moneyball mantra in a way.
Can you name? There's not been, well, actually, sorry, I nearly was going to say something that would probably have got me shot. So let's recalibrate that. Yeah, I know you really want to know what that is now, right? I think that one of the myths is around you need to try and find players that can do what you want them to do rather than what the public want them to do, right? So finding the right player for your team is important. That's part of it. And will they make us better in the game that we're trying to play? And historically, so far, I don't think me, have made too many mistakes recruitment-wise. You know, there's been a few, I don't know about him, so no one knew about Hugh Sutton, Max Nagy, for example. Everyone saw what a success Stephen Myler was, for example. You know, you lose a lot of talent, but that opens the door. I'm always going to back youth, you know that, because they are energy givers. They're keen to learn. They're the lifeblood of what you do. And ultimately, I'd rather give them a chance, you know, and risk something and spend money on things that you're not sure about. So, look, we haven't been able to nail every top recruitment target we've wanted, but you know, with it, if not, like in anything, you move on to what you believe is the next best. So, yeah, we're excited about what some of these youngsters can do, and you know, some of the new recruits can do. But also, everyone looks at it as what the Ospreys want and what the Ospreys do. Sometimes players want to do things. You know, the Nicky Smith thing wasn't an Ospreys decision; it was a Nicky Smith decision. So it's not always your choice. And, you know, with someone like Nicky, same with the example, because he's such a legend in the Ospreys, it was a very difficult thing to go to. And we went back at it a couple of times when he didn't have anything, but he was adamant he wanted to try something new. And the amount of rugby he's contributed to the Ospreys, he deserves that opportunity.
Absolutely. I would just have to say, I knew about Hugh Sutton and Max Nagy. I was there in the freezing on every Wednesday at St Helens and University.
Well, you should have got in touch quicker then.
Yeah, I should have. You're not wrong there.
Yeah.
They were great. Go on, Robbie.
No, so just in terms of mentioning new players around recruitment, how are those two things, to your mind, kind of linked, and where they kind of split apart? So we saw an awful lot of those young players come in and really perform last season. You know, a lot of players who hadn't had minutes at all, or even players like James Fender, who perhaps hadn't started but had minutes off the bench. It felt like an awful lot of those players came on an awfully long way. And you'd say, you know, looking at this, virtually every single player compared to the squad from last season is a better player now than they were last year. How does that impact what you're looking at as a kind of, you know, the squad you're building for the following season? And how do you go about continuing those to push on into the coming year?
Well, good talent, with good attitude gets you quite a long way, right? And we've got a good program. I'll stand by the program that we have here, and we've got some good coaches implementing that program. So by default, if you put some good stuff into it, you're going to get better stuff out of it. So, we talk about, and you've quoted me repeatedly around some of the, the fan supporter stuff, and
Yes.
But this is another, is good teams learn quickly, good players develop quickly. That's what talent's really about, So from that point of view, it's all about the speed of change or the speed of improvement as much as improvement, right? If you put someone in a situation repeatedly, day in, day out, they're going to get percentually better. Now, what that percentage is depends on the talent. So I think that's important. As you say, they're certainly be better for the experience. And if you look at the breakthrough players, you saw Morgan Morse, Dan Edwards, for example, Luke Davis, and I just picked them off the top of my head. There's a number of them. And then if you put in, Kieran Williams, Owen Watkin, Rhys Davis, Adam Beard, Sam Parry, etc., then it's a gradual process. But those boys are almost the stalwarts of what we do around here. I mean, I know the Grand Master Blue Hat man will sit, he becomes more of a coach as we go, So from that point of view, the baton gets passed on, and the knowledge gets passed on, and how we do things, and what an Ospreys player looks like, and how he acts, and whatever. It's as much as around the standard and the character, and the effort as it is the talent, because talent with bad attitude is still bad talent. So I'd rather edge on the side of good people that can connect, people that put the team first with potential, than people that I don't know.
So is the squad for next season set? Have you got a final idea of who it is, or are there still bits falling into place?
I'm still too short. I'm still too short. Now, whether I get to 2 or we get to 2 is another question, because as you can imagine, you squeeze every little bit you can out your cap and whatever. And often sometimes injury provides an opportunity to broaden it. I mean, let's be honest about it. The Cheetah's relationship with us was gold.
Oh, brilliant.
It allowed us the flexibility and, our Y11 and that relationship and bits and pieces that we have, that saved our bacon in a lot of ways, right? So we certainly need to keep utilising that. We've got some of those boys coming back, which will add two numbers to what we do. And we're trying to get one more on top of that. So that's where we'll end up, barring injury. And when I say injury, it's really international duty injury, because ultimately you can utilise some insurance money and spread your payments and wealth across it. But yeah, you've certainly got to be crafty. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you mentioned the development of recruitment and things like that, but the younger players, so you mentioned obviously Morgan Morris, Dan Edwards, they're 12 months down the line from where they were at the start of last season. So it must be quite exciting as a head coach to have players such as that coming through and into the senior environment again after a strong start, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. They bring the energy we talk about. You know, they are respectful, but they have, you know, they want to play ultimately, and they'll do whatever they can to play, and they'll constantly bang your door down. But it's good because it keeps everybody sharp. And what you actually want is as much competition for place as you can. Coaches that tell you, oh, you know, it's difficult, it's a coach's dream. The more players you've got that are of the right caliber, the easier it is. Because, well, I say the easier it is, it's hard to keep the non-23 sort of energized, of course, but it drives the standard, it drives the, you know, it reduces the complacency. And as a result, you can pick people that are doing the job, not saying they're going to do the job, you know. So from that point of view, if you can fill that talent pool, and you have to financially with young players that bring that energy as well, that's brilliant. But as you say, those 10, 15 games that they've played last year makes a massive difference.
And are there any players that we might haven't seen that, you know, you're looking forward to maybe giving them that exposure next year?
That sounds like a very obvious question to me. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to all of the
Yeah. Anyone in particular?
Loaded. That was obvious and loaded. No. So yeah, I think that we're going to try and bring a little bit. I still think, you know, I think we can be better set piece wise through basically availability, you know, strength in depth, the amount of collateral damage. And we look at James Ratty, how much rugby he played last year was ridiculous. But to keep people fresh and energized, you know, you need people that can do the job. So I think we're anticipating our forwards, you know, going a little bit more being a little bit more consistent. You know, the challenge will always be international windows, as you know. But we seem to be less popular in there at the moment. So that's out of every bad.
By me.
Out of every bad comes some good. So from that point of view, you know, we'll see what it is. But our aim is to have a team and a program where people do play international rugby, because that's what they want to do, and that's what we have to support for sure. So I think, and also, as you say, we've missed some. We're losing a couple of experienced backs, but bring quite a lot of physicality. So our challenge around physicality in the back line. So we know that Keith does what he does. We know that Aaron Watkin does what he does. You know, putting Phil Coccacina in there makes a difference. I think, you know, that'll help. Tom Florence is putting his hand up. He's 100+ kilos in the middle there. So, you know, I think physicality. I'm looking forward to seeing physicality in our back line. That's what I'm looking forward to.
And you mentioned, sorry, James.
No, you go. Yeah.
Oh, no. Just that you mentioned, you know, obviously a lot of young players coming through, and that's been a consistent throughout the 4 years. And you mentioned being 4 years into this project. How far into this project and how far along do you think you are? And sort of how do you look on it as a whole versus perhaps what you expected when you initially started?
The answer to the second bit. Let's start with the first bit. The first bit was, well, whether I'm here beyond my contract terms is other people's decision. So, you know, hopefully they can see the progress. I can demonstrate the process if I have to, you know, from a performance point of view as well as an outcome point of view. So I'm pleased performance-wise that, you know, we're on the right track. You know, whether that's fast enough, that's for, you know, other people decide that. And always there's a financial element to that. I understand the world is what it is, right? So that's from a personal point of view. But we've had to probably reset a little bit, you know. There was a lot of long-term contracts here when I got here, and a lot of those had to unwind before you can make change, because the reality is it's not football. Well, Welsh rugby certainly not football. Rugby itself is certainly not. The fact that, you know, transfer fees are non-existent, you know, so you have to let contracts unwind. You cannot afford to let people go because the number depletion makes it, unless they're a complete culture killer. And, you know, fortunately, we've had none of those. And the boys can often work those out themselves. So there's a natural selection element to that, if you like. David Attenborough, pleased I've got natural selection in, so it's good.
He's a regular listener every week.
from insomnia apparently, but I'll let you boys read into that. So I think that there was obviously from stuff outside of our control, there was a bit of a reset, you know. So there's been around, you know, a little bit of derailing potential. So that probably slowed the progress, and there's certainly a dip in certain elements of what we've done. So yeah, that probably set us back a little bit. So look, we are, you know, we've certainly come a long way from 2 wins when I took over. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, to get double figure wins, to get, you know, notable victories against very good opposition last year in Champions Cup, to win European knockout games, to getting through into the knockout stages. So the performance progress is definitely there to see. And we'll just have to see what that looks like, you know, beyond that. So I think that the other bit is we're also battling against a reducing budget on a, you know, on a quite a scale. And look, we all know that you've got to cut your cloth accordingly. So I do understand it. It's not, but it's certainly not the dream that I thought I'd signed on for when I started. But I like a long-term project. The squad's remarkably different now. This is probably, you know, up there as being almost singly mine in relation to my tenure now. I think it actually is actually. So yeah, it's a natural progression, and I'm excited where it can go. How soon it goes there depends on a lot of factors.
Brilliant. So I know you're a busy man. We don't want to keep you. Thank you very much for your time. All three are, you know, we're looking forward to the season. Very quickly, is there a fixture that sticks out to you this season that you thought this is the one, this is what, you know, apart from the obvious one, of which, you know, Scarlet's at home
And away.
and away, of course.
Fixture wise, not going away to South Africa and Europe was certainly the first thing. You know, I think that I always look forward to playing Irish teams in Ireland because my wife's Irish. No, not because of that. Because I think that's the benchmark. You know, I think obviously away in South Africa, often there is, you know, environmental reasons why it's tough. You know, and you know we know how good the Stormers' victory was last year, but then you follow it with a car crash. You know. But that's part of getting better, you know. So we'll always try and find a way. There you go. I've finished. We'll always try and find a way to get better. And I think that, yeah, the Irish teams are the benchmark of consistency. So how you do against them, and so when you go over there, so you know, to be competitive over there, to get victories over there, I think is probably the things that, you know, the greatest opportunity to test yourself.
If you've got one brief message for supporters going into next season, what would it be?
Come and watch. It'll be fun.
Perfect.
It won't be easy, but it'll be fun.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Toby, for giving up your time.
You're welcome.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah, I'll say thank you to Harrison as well.
Just from my behalf and on behalf of the team, thank you for your unrelenting support. It does mean a lot to me. So thank you.
No worries. It won't stop.
Thank you for giving us something that's such a joy to support.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Toby.
Right. Cheers, Harrison.
See you. Thank you, mate. Thank you for listening. That was, you know, quite frankly, our magnum opus of an interview. I will never create anything better than that.
We all kind of eased our, when, you know, bringing it fine away. Very much, we're not sick of it. I want to hear more of it. There's a reason that we all enjoy Boofy Bingo every week. And
Boofy Bingo is spreading. You know, it's spreading to other podcasts. It was mentioned on other podcasts. You know, I would just like to point out because you were on it, Robbie.
Serial. Yeah, like loads of others. You know, they're all picking this up. Off menu, they're always talking about Boofy Bingo.
Yeah, off menu. Shagged, Married, Annoyed. They love Boothie Bingo.
Yeah. I think there's the rugby pod. I think there's a there's a lot in that. There's a lot that we just heard. The core thing is it feels like business as usual going to this next season, but those players have more exposure and there's even more reason to be excited about them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just made me really excited for the season. You know, I thought I need a break from rugby. The sevens is finished.
Yeah.
But actually, I just want that first preseason game to happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm just so excited about this squad.
Yeah. It's good to see they're all getting on well. I think there's a lot of us who'd agree that maybe it is up to other people whether Toby remains, but I think there's a lot of us certainly hoping and very much feeling in one direction.
Very much so. Right, you can find us on our various different socials. You can find Yeston _Thomas21, where he will be at various Pontypridd games. You can also look at his blog. Yeston, plug the blog.
What's it called? Oh, the Open Side blog.
The Open Side blog. Yeah, the Open Side blog, some great stuff on there. You can find Robbie at Squidge Rugby on every channel if you want to shout at him for something this week. Just don't ask who the best player in the world is.
It is Harry Deves.
Well, if you'd have said Tom Haberfield, a South African, still would have said that it's actually Sean Venter.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can find Robbie there. Particularly enjoyed his seven stuff. Are you on a break at the minute, or have you got stuff coming out, Robbie?
I mean, I've sort of but it's been 3 days long, the break. We just done a big piece on lineouts with I can probably say, it's George Cruz, former, British and Irish Lion, World Cup finalist, George Cruz, done a big England
CBT legend.
CBT legend, gave us, an hour of his time to talk about lineouts. So I need to edit that and get that up hopefully next week. So there is stuff to come.
Brilliant. You can find me Ospreys Eyrie, or you can find me at James Reese 8. I don't know why you would. This is the beginning of our season, but we won't be back until the season starts. But just know that basically I sat down with some people at the Ospreys very recently, and we're hoping to work a lot more closely with them next year. And it's going to be great. It's going to be, we had such an amazing year pod-wise last year, more than we ever thought that we would, and probably more than we deserved to. But it's going to be even better next year. So enjoy the interview. Go listen to it again. Check out the other pods, and we'll see you soon. Brilliant.
See them.
Have a good one, guys.